or we can use our gold standard endotracheal intubation technique. So now, first and foremost, what are the principles of airway management? So there are 4 questions that we need to answer. First is the airway patent or obstructed? Is there a possible injury that would change the provider's method of treating an obstructed airway or insufficient breathing, like if the patient has head injury or the patient is having cervical injury? Third question is if the advanced airway is indicated. And fourth is the proper placement of the airway device confirmed? So airway management during cardiac arrest, it depends on 3 factors. First is the provider experience. How experienced is the person who is on the head end? Second is the characteristics of the EMS or your healthcare system. And third is the condition of the patient. So based on these 3 things, we can decide what we can do in airway management in these patients. So CPR used to be ABC, but eventually it was changed to CAB and compressions came before the airway, but still airway is very vital in the management of these patients. So this is the BLS healthcare provider algorithm. In this, they state to provide rescue breathing, 1 breath every 5 to 6 seconds or about 10 to 12 breaths per minute. So for providing adult breaths, first we need to open the airway. The victim's airway must be open for the breaths to be effective. So there are 2 methods. First is head tilt, chin lift, and second is jaw thrust. So for head tilt and chin lift, there are 3 steps. First is place one hand on victim's forehead and push with your palm to tilt the head back. Second is place fingers of other hand under bony part of lower jaw near the chin. Third is to lift the jaw to bring the chin forward. So these are the 3 important steps of head tilt and chin lift maneuver which anyone can do. So here we can see the blocked airway and the open airway. So in blocked airway, we can see that there is a tongue fall, and because of the tongue fall, the airway is obstructed. But when we perform the head tilt and chin lift maneuver, as we see in the second picture, the airway has opened by this simple maneuver. So though simple, this maneuver is very important while managing such patients. So what are the things to avoid with head tilt and chin lift? So do not press deeply into the soft tissue under the chin because this might block the airway, and do not close the victim's mouth completely. Next is jaw thrust. Jaw thrust is used when the head tilt chin lift doesn't work or if we suspect a spinal injury in these patients. So for jaw thrust, again, there are 3 steps. First is place one hand on each side of victim's head. So for this, you'll have to stand at the patient's head end. Next is place your fingers under the angles of the victim's lower jaw and lift with both hands, displacing the jaw forward. Third is push the lower lip with your thumb to open the lips. So all these, after all these steps, we can provide an adequate jaw thrust. After a head tilt, chin lift or jaw thrust, next we have to use various barrier devices. So use standard precautions when giving breaths. Use barrier devices like pocket masks. It lowers the risk of infection and is available in different sizes. We had seen Mr. Bean, he was using a magazine roll and he was trying to create his own barrier device. So this is a pocket mask. This is available in the ACLS, BLS with a kit, and it can be used for mouth to mask breaths and has a one-way valve, and it may have an oxygen inlet also. So here we can see one rescuer who is using a pocket mask and is providing mask to mouth respiration. In this picture we can see that he is using both his hands. He is using his left hand to make a seal using his thumb and index finger, and he is using his right hand, the thumb of his right hand, to tighten the seal, while the fingers of his hand to lift the jaw. So he is providing head tilt, chin lift as well as a good seal using both his hands. Now correct mask placement. So for correct mask placement, the nose and mouth are fully covered, nares are patent and without any impingement, there is no undue pressure on the eyes, and the cushion is conforming to the face to make a good seal. For adult breaths, we need to interrupt chest compressions to give 2 breaths with a barrier device. Deliver each breath over 1 second. Look for visible chest rise with each breath and resume chest compressions in less than 10 seconds. So this is another technique which is known as ENC clamp technique of mask holding. In this we form a C using our thumb and index finger, and the other 3 fingers are used to form a E. Among these, the one finger is used to lift the jaw, the another one is placed at the chin, and the ring finger is placed in between these two. So this is used generally when we provide a one-person bag mask technique. In this, the same person holds the mask, forms the seal, and with the other hand, ambues the patient. Next is a 2 rescue bag mask ventilation. This technique is used if there is difficulty in mask holding or difficult ventilation. So airway management is important, as we can see that it is a part of high performance CPR. In this, one person is dedicated to take care of the airway. After this bag mask, next thing that we need to learn is the advanced airways. So advanced airways comprise predominantly of endotracheal tube, LMAs and combi tube. These are indicated when you are unable to open airway using head tilt, chin lift maneuvers or jaw thrust maneuvers. If you have difficulty forming a seal with a face mask, if a patient requiring continued ventilatory support, and when the patient has a high risk of aspiration. A patient should be unconscious or sedated without an active gag reflex before instrumentation of the airway occurs with an ETT, combi tube or LMA. So now first device is endotracheal tube. This is a device that is inserted through the larynx into the trachea to convey gases and vapors to and from the lungs. It is placed into the trachea after having direct visualization of the vocal cords. So here we can see how a endotracheal tube is placed through in the trachea, and it is negotiated through the vocal cords. So indications of endotracheal intubation are CPR, protection of airway in unconscious or semi-conscious patients, when patient requires mechanical ventilation, if there is a respiratory obstruction, and if the patient requires tracheobronchial toileting for severe sputum retention. So the equipments required for intubation. So we need first and foremost we need a laryngoscope. This laryngoscope can be with Miller blade or Macintosh blade. Macintosh blade is generally used for adults, while Miller blade is used for pediatric patients. So we need to keep different sizes of the blades. After that, we need to place different sizes of tubes depending on the age and weight of the patient. A 10 cc syringe to inflate the cuff once we have secured the tube. A suction machine, a working suction machine with suction catheters, and a stethoscope to auscultate. So determination of the size of the tube. The size of the tube is determined, it is designated by internal diameter. The ISO standard requires the tube size to be marked between the cuff and the takeoff point of the inflation tube. The ideal tube size for males, what we use commonly is 8 and 8.5. For adult female patients, we use 7 or 7.5. If we encounter a pregnant female, there we also keep 6.5 tube in our intubation trolley. Coming to the pediatric population, if the child is less than 3 months, we generally keep a 3 millimeter endotracheal tube. For 3 to 9 months, a 3.5 ED tube is kept. If the child, there are other formulas. If the child is less than 6 years, so the formula is age by 3 plus 3.5. And if the child is more than 6 and less than 12, then it is age by 4 plus 4.5. So in adults, the tube should be passed until the cuff is 2.25 to 2.5 centimeter below the vocal cords. In average size adults, the tube is secured at 23 centimeters in males and 21 centimeters in females. So after it is, after we are done with the endotracheal intubation, next step is, as I said, is confirmation of the ET tube. So confirmation of ET tube can be done by, first and foremost, what we can do is we can visualize that the tube is passing through the cords. So while we do laryngoscopy, we can see the tube going through the cords. Next is we can feel the compliance of the reservoir bag when we ventilate the patients. Third is we observe the chest wall rise with inspiration. Fourth is we can see a mist in the endotracheal tubing. Then we can proceed to 5-point auscultation, capnography, which is gold standard in confirming the position of the tube, calorimetry based detection devices, fiber optic confirmation using chest x-ray, and now sonographic assessment of endotracheal tube has also become into practice. After endotracheal tube, the next thing that we can use is a combi tube. This is a combination of two tubes. That is, this has this has two lumens. That is, it has an esophageal as well as a endotracheal tube. It is blindly placed into the esophagus 80% of the times and into trachea 20% of the times. It provides ventilatory access regardless of whether it is placed in the trachea or the esophagus. So coming to the steps, first is advance the combi tube into the mouth midline along the base of the tongue. Stop once the black rings reach the patient's teeth. Inflate the pharyngeal cuff with 100 ml of air. Inflate the tracheal cuff with 15 ml of air and secure in place of endotracheal tube. Next is laryngeal mask airway. These are used if the in difficult intubation scenarios, and in this the visualization of the vocal cords is not required for insertion. These are various types: classic, unique, supreme, ProSeal, ILMA or iGel, and they come in various sizes. There are different sizes which are required based on the weight of the patient. Most commonly we use size 3 for a 30 to 50 kg patient and size 4 for a 50 to 70 kg patient. So the technique for placement, again we have to deflate the cuff. We have to hold it like a pen, guide in the LMA cuff without folding back the tip, pressing it against the hard palate. Advance the LMA till the cuff lies in the pharynx. After placement, inflate the laryngeal cuff and check for an adequate seal by using positive pressure ventilation. So there in the second picture, we can see how the LMA is placed. So contraindications. This device, since it is not in the trachea and we haven't inflated the cuff, there are chances of aspiration still with this device. So it is not used in morbidly obese patient. It is not used in patients with GERD, in full stomach patients or pregnant patients. So the patient is still at high risk of aspiration. So that's all for airway management. Any questions?